So picture this. You spend an entire evening, like, carefully typing out the absolute perfect detailed question for Claude.
Oh yeah, we've all been there.
Right. And you expect this sharp, brilliant answer back. But what you actually get is a response so painfully safe and generic that you basically just end up rewriting it yourself anyway.
It is incredibly frustrating. And honestly, it makes it so easy to just throw your hands up, you know? You just assume the AI isn't as capable as the hype suggests.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today we are looking at the actual mechanics of why that happens.
Exactly.
We are unpacking a source text on mastering the art of the Claude prompt. And our mission today is to figure out how treating Claude less like a magic 8-ball and more like a real computational system completely changes your output.
Right, because we are moving way past the basic how to write a prompt advice. We are looking at the literal mechanics of how a large language model processes your text.
Yeah.
And this happens before it even begins to generate a single word.
We're going to explore 6 highly specific methods today. Everything from establishing contextual boundaries all the way up to triggering deep adaptive reasoning.
Which is where things get really fascinating. Because if your input lacks structure and clear parameters, it will always default to a safe, generic average.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just a mathematical certainty, regardless of how powerful the model actually is.
So I want to start at the foundation, the very bottom layer of how a model constructs a response.
Which really comes down to identity.
Right. Before Claude can answer effectively, it needs to know who it is. And I have to make a vulnerable admission right up front here.
Oh, let's hear it.
I still wrestle with prompt drift myself, expecting the AI to just know what I want.
Yeah, well, you are definitely not alone in that. It is human nature to anthropomorphize these systems. People skip the role assignment step constantly. They treat the chat box like a basic search engine and just type in a raw question.
And the source text gives a highly practical example of this. Think about a plain request like, explain how a balance sheet works.
Right. The model looks at that, and it pulls from the mathematical average of every time a balance sheet is mentioned in its training data.
So you just get a completely accurate but perfectly dry answer.
Exactly. It reads just like a textbook or a Wikipedia page.
But then you take that exact same request and wrap it inside a specific persona. You write, you are a CFO with 20 years of experience explaining financial concepts to non-finance executives.
And then you say, explain how a balance sheet works.
Right. The raw facts stay exactly the same. But because you applied that CFO rule, the output completely transforms.
It really does. It stops sounding like an encyclopedia and starts reading like a practical executive summary.
Think of Claude as a really smart new hire on their first day. The skill is there, it just needs direction.
That's a great way to look at it. Because of how the model retrieves information, adding that one sentence dramatically shifts the probability distribution of the words it will choose next.
So why does adding a fictional role change the actual factual data that comes back?
Well, it doesn't change the facts. It changes the retrieval pathway. It filters the vast training data through a specific contextual lens.
It gives the AI a specific lens to filter the information through.
Exactly. You are shrinking the universe of possible answers down to what a seasoned executive would actually say.
And the text mentions a great tip here. You can save these roles inside a Claude project or in your custom instructions.
Yes. That way, they apply automatically to every new chat. You don't have to type it out every single day.
Great. But even if Claude knows it is a CFO, if you slide a messy, unorganized stack of papers across its desk, it's still going to fail quietly.
Oh, absolutely. Which brings us to the next structural method. Once it knows who it is, it needs to know exactly what you are handing it.
The problem is mashing background information, the actual task, and the formatting into one massive text block.
People do this all the time. And the model is just left to guess where the context ends and the instructions begin. Even a great CFO persona will fail if the data is a mess.
So we need to look at XML tags to solve this. And I'll define XML tags for you real quick.
Please do.
They are labels that create clear boundaries around different parts of your text.
That's perfectly put. Anthropic's own documentation heavily recommends using these tags. You wrap your background info inside a tag, literally labeled context.
And you put the task inside an instructions tag?
Right. You can even nest them, like putting individual documents inside a larger document section.
The source gives a really specific example involving Q2 SaaS data.
Oh, yeah, the revenue report.
Yeah. The messy version is just a brain dump. Like, here is Q2 data, revenue grew 12%, churn increased, hiring slowed down, analyze this.
When you feed a language model a dense block of text like that, its attention mechanism just gets diluted.
It is trying to weigh the importance of all those words simultaneously.
Exactly. But when you use tags, the AI reads the purpose of each section immediately. The Q2 data sits cleanly inside a context bracket.
It feels like stacking Lego blocks of data instead of just tossing them in a messy pile.
That is a great analogy. It completely changes how the architecture processes the prompt.
So does the model actually process tags differently than regular punctuation?
It does. It has been trained to parse them as structural markers, which significantly reduces ambiguity.
The tags act as literal walls, stopping the instructions from blurring together.
Yes, exactly. They are structural walls.
Okay, so we have our CFO persona, and their workspace is neatly organized with XML tags. But we still have a problem.
Interpretation.
Right. Even neatly separated written instructions leave way too much room for interpretation.
They really do. You might write a rule like, write in a casual but professional tone and keep it under 100 words.
What does that actually mean to an AI?
Exactly. It lands differently every single time. It is just guessing what those abstract rules look like.
So the source recommends showing examples over instructions. This is method 3.
And it is so effective. Anthropic recommends showing 3 to 5 examples wrapped inside an example tag to remove the guesswork.
Let's look at the noise-canceling headphones task from the text.
Okay, yeah. You need a product description.
Right. If you just give instructions, you're writing things like, keep the tone light, don't be too salesy, avoid long sentences.
Which is just a minefield for the AI.
Yeah.
But if you just give Claude a direct pattern to match, it is infinitely better than explaining what it should avoid.
A positive example carries so much more weight than a long list of restrictions.
Coolly.
So why is showing a positive example so much stronger than giving a list of negative constraints?
Well, pattern matching is the core strength of language models. They are built to identify and complete patterns naturally.
Showing it what works is simply faster than eliminating what doesn't.
Exactly. It takes a lot of processing overhead for an AI to navigate complex logical exclusions. Just show it what you want.
Meet. But what happens when the task gets so complex that even great examples aren't enough?
That is when you hit a processing ceiling.
Right. Which brings us to method 4,
Mm.
breaking tasks into a prompt chain.
When you have 4 different jobs competing in one prompt-like research, analyze, draft, and format, each job gets less processing focus.
So you have to split the work. Explain how the chain works in practice.
Well, prompt 1 extracts, say, 10 specific findings from your data.
Okay.
Then prompt 2 takes those findings and groups them into 3 business themes.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, prompt 3 turns that into a management report with action recommendations.
And the source mentions a self-correction pattern at the end, right?
Yeah, you ask it to generate a draft, review it against your criteria, and then refine it.
I do want to point out some nuance here, though. Anthropic's current guidance has actually changed on this.
It has, yeah.
Hmm.
Because newer models have adaptive thinking that handles a lot of this internally now.
So since newer models think adaptively, is manual chaining becoming obsolete?
It's not obsolete, no. It's just repurposed. Manual chaining is best reserved now for inspecting intermediate steps or enforcing a strict pipeline.
Not obsolete, just shifting to quality control for specific multi-step pipelines.
Exactly. It's for when you really need to audit the AI's work step by step.
Speaking of the model's internal processing, that brings us to method 5, adaptive thinking for accuracy.
This is huge. Some tasks demand a profound level of accuracy, where you literally need the AI to slow down and think.
Right. The text explains 2 controls for this. The effort setting, which goes from low to max, and the thinking toggle.
Everyday tasks like drafting short emails just need speed. You keep it on low effort.
But high-stakes tasks like financial analysis or strategic decisions, those need serious depth.
Let's dive into the course pricing example to show this.
Yeah, contrast a simple prompt like, suggest a price for my course with a deeply constrained one.
Right, the simple one just gives you a generic guess.
Yeah.
But the constrained prompt asks Claude to weigh monthly retention, churn percentages, and customer acquisition cost.
And it asks it to calculate a trade-off between 3-month cash flow and 1-year total profit.
Exactly.
Whoa. Imagine it weighing those real-world constraints perfectly before it even types a word.
It's incredible. It basically stops being a text generator and becomes a strategic modeling engine.
But how do we recognize in our own daily work when a task actually warrants this extra computing time?
You use the doubt test. When a fast response sounds right, but leaves you doubting if it holds up to scrutiny.
Because a wrong answer costs more than waiting for deeper reasoning.
Exactly. You weigh the cost of a wrong answer against the value of your time.
Look for doubt. If a generic answer costs you money, turn it on.
Perfect rule of thumb.
We are going to take a quick break for our sponsor.
Welcome back. So deep reasoning solves the tough calculations. But what about simple, frustrating mistakes that just keep happening week after week? That is method 6. Fix the prompt system, not just the output.
A Claude prompt should perform better 30 days from now than it does today.
It really should. There's a great story in the text about a weekly customer revenue report.
Oh, right. For 3 weeks in a row, it came back missing a month-over-month comparison.
Yeah, and the user had to fix it manually every single time. They kept tweaking the final text.
So what was the fix?
Stop changing the output. Add a constraint directly to the prompt.
They added, always compare this month's numbers to last month's and state the percentage change.
Exactly. And by placing this fix inside a Claude project, it applies automatically to all future chats.
It removes the repeated mistake right at its source.
Yep, no more manual edits.
So why is human nature so resistant to fixing the prompt instead of just tweaking the output?
Honestly, editing text feels like tangible progress. Tweaking a final draft feels fast, while debugging a prompt feels like coding.
Because tweaking the final text feels faster in the moment.
Exactly. But it traps you in a cycle of endless rework.
We have covered a massive amount of ground today, and I want to synthesize the overarching core philosophy here.
Yeah, let's bring it all together.
A truly strong Claude prompt doesn't come from one clever hack or a magic sentence.
Not at all.
It is a connected system of habits. You're setting roles, defining boundaries with tags, leading with positive examples, chaining complex steps, applying adaptive thinking, and relentlessly debugging the prompt itself. 2-sec silence. If you stopped treating AI like a magic search box and started treating it like a highly capable colleague who just needs a clean desk, a clear role, and a good onboarding, how much time could you actually buy back next month?
It is a profound shift in perspective.
It really is something to think about. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Stay curious, and we will talk to you next time.